LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.
Lydia and welcome to another edition of Conversations with Lydia. Today we are going to talk about singleness, being single. Does our nurturing, our upbringing affect how we see ourselves when we're looking for a life partner? Today I've got somebody who is a friend, a sister. She makes me laugh. She already made us laugh to talk about her journey through being single, and we'll read a little bit about her and then I'll welcome her and ask her to talk about herself. Her name is Andrea Onadeko. She is a love-filled and joy-driven, confident and relationship coach, a wife to an amazing husband and a mother to a purposeful young man. She inspires and supports women to be clear, confident and have the courage to go from chasing to cherished in love. Her focus really is to support women to create relationships that they desire and they deserve. She's passionate to see women thrive and flourish in their lives and in love. She's a best-selling author and a public speaker. Her book Awake is an anthology featuring stories of women who awoke to a time in their lives and chose to do more. It's available on Amazon. In addition to her coaching business, Adrienne has a master's in information technology and has spent the last 20 years as a business analyst, consultant, and Scrum Master and coach in the financial world. And she does work for a nonprofit organization where she coaches teams in delivering the Scrum framework. She offers group and individual coaching, facilitates workshops and seminars. Please help me welcome Adrienne.
Thank you so much, Sister Lydia. It's a privilege to be here. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited about our conversation.
Yes, I am excited. And I was saying I had to compete with your vivacious colors, I'm going to call them. If you notice, she wears the most amazing colors in dress and lipstick. Some of us, I can say speak for most people, wouldn't dare wear some of the colors you wear, especially on your lips. But I think it is so... I did a talk once on how your dressing actually reflects who you are, how it actually reflects something that is inside you. And I like your introduction says she's love-filled and joy-driven. So we know happiness is situation-based, but somebody who is joy-driven means they've made a decision to remain joyful. So welcome. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know we've read, but tell me something. We know you dress amazingly well. Tell me something else about you that maybe you enjoy.
Something about me that most people don't know is I love children's cartoons. So I love my Tom and Jerry, and I've been watching them since I was a kid, and I still do love watching them now. So I did spend hours, when my son was younger. We watch together, and even now, every now and then, when I have time to pass, I just sit there and I just watch Tom and Jerry. So I'm a big cartoon lover. So, and I don't think I ever want to outgrow watching cartoons. So that is at least something that most people don't know about me. I think you've said it all. So yeah, so I'm a confident and love coach. And I help professional single women. I help them to go from chasing to cherished in love. So I support them to be clear, I support them to be confident, and I support them to have the courage to wait for the right person for them instead of settling for someone that is available to them. So that is what I do in a nutshell.
Actually, I think that's important. We need courage to wait and not just marry, the first person who comes along. But there's also, I think, something about women finding it difficult to be very clear about what we want compared to men. I think men most of the time are direct, or you can sense what they want, but a woman is not always sure she can say, actually, you know what, this is what I want out of this relationship. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because the way men are wired differently from women. So while men are logical, we are more emotional. So for us, we tend to sometimes it's as though, especially if you're coming from a previous relationship. So if you haven't healed from that, sometimes you're busy looking at that other relationship, the previous one, and you're saying to yourself, well, I don't want somebody like that. So if you've been in a relationship where the guy cheated on you, then you're thinking, I don't want a dishonest person. And if you've been in a relationship where maybe there was domestic abuse or whatever, so the focus is on the negative, on the things that didn't work before, instead of actually the focus on what you actually want. I normally give this example to my clients that if you want to buy a new car, the minute you decide that is the car that you want to buy, everywhere you look on the street, you begin to find it. And the same thing goes for when women know what they want rather than what they don't want. So I always start with when I start coaching with my clients, I say to them, what do you want? So instead of saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, you need to be very clear about what you want. So I want an honest person. I want a trustworthy man. I want somebody who fears God. So it's about being clear, and when you're clear, then that gives you the confidence to be able to show up in the best version of yourself.
I think what you're saying, which is what actually I do when I have couples come, we hear things from the history. The history is speaking. So somebody says, can you move the car? And it was like, this is how he didn't move the car well last week and blah, blah, blah. So what you're saying is that positionally, we're positioning ourselves in our history rather than the here and now, we would say in counseling, or what I want. It's about what has happened. So in our minds, we're stuck in history. Okay. What about, is there a difference between what I need and what I want from a relationship? Or are they similar?
I would say that they are different. I would say they're different because, yes, sometimes people, they want certain, I would say, they're like superficial things. I want him to be tall, dark, and handsome. There's nothing wrong in that. That is absolutely crucial because you have to be physically attracted to the person that you want to be with. But in saying that, what you really need is somebody who can, be there for you. What the woman really needs is somebody that you can share your low moments and your high moments with, somebody that you can share your success with, somebody that you can be yourself with, without fear of judgment, somebody that, can love you regardless of your baggage, if you come with baggage into the relationship. So I think sometimes we overlook the need, what we need, and we jump into, I think what we want normally comes first. And then people now start beginning to think about what they actually need. But I think it's important that people, that women think more of what you need. You need somebody who can hold your hand. If you're a Christian, you're a believer, you need somebody who is also a believer like yourself, so that you can build on the foundation of Christ together. So those are things that are, I call them non-negotiables. Other than things that, well, if he's not as tall as you want, then maybe you can you can compromise on the height. But if he's not a Christian, maybe you can't compromise on that, depending on, the level of your faith.
I like that because I actually met a lady who testified about her husband being short. And she remembered
Okay.
when he came up to her, she was like, "You can't be serious, can't be talking to me." And then God, in some way confirmed that this was the man she was supposed to marry. And she was like, "Nah,
Yeah.
he's too short, but she goes on to tell the story that actually he is everything she could have ever wanted and needed. And if she had used her superficial eyes, this is what you're saying, to overlook the man because the man was short, then she would have missed
Yeah.
out a lifetime of joy and love and support that
Mhm.
that she has. So what
Yeah.
you're actually saying is that we need to look inwards into
Yes.
ourselves as a woman, because
Yes.
what I may need may be different from what you need. But
Yes.
what is really important to me, I also had a friend say they were like two men, and she married the more romantic one, who she knew
Okay.
like giving her flowers was important to her now. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, for her that was a need, but for somebody else, like, why would anybody give me flowers? What would be the need? So it would be actually to be honest with yourself, what it is that is needful to me, what is going to help me live
Yes.
this life with this man, because there will be challenges. And I think that this
Yes.
idea that if I am a Christian, do I make that choice to say I only will marry a Christian? How important that is that?
Well, I mean, this obviously this question, or this bit about being a Christian, the Bible is clear on what we should do or not do. The Bible says we should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. So that, I think it's clear that, as if you're a Christian, then you want to look out and wait for a Christian man to find you. But while I know that this is not always the case and is subject to people's circumstances and where they are in their faith, so, but I am not quick to judge people, because obviously I'm not the one in that relation, in that circumstances. So because people's circumstances are different, so I'm not saying it is um it is what it is. People will do what they want to do. So you might be a Christian and you might decide that, you know what, I'm happy to date an unbeliever with intention that, they might become a Christian during the course of our, dating, whatever. I've seen that happen before. So I've seen people date people who are not non-Christians, who become Christians during the course of the relationship. So while that is not what the Bible admonishes us, but it does happen, and I'm not in any position to judge anybody, who decides to do what they think is best for them. Yeah, yeah,
And there's a difference between dating somebody actually who doesn't start off as a Christian, because they can easily be influenced by your Christianity. Because I always feel that a lot of times the young ladies aren't praying because their husbands might be in the world. Does that make sense? We're hoping that
yes.
he's going to be the usher in church, but he may not be
Yes.
the usher in church. He may be that he just needs somebody to push him into the kingdom. And it might be, as you said, it might be he meets this lady. She says, I'm a Christian. He's interested, no, or not even interested in what she does on Sunday or during the week. And later on, he becomes actually interested, gives his life. And I've seen actually some men who've become even more zealous than the woman who introduced them to faith. So
Absolutely.
that happens. But I think the crux of it is this choice of marrying somebody who doesn't share your faith or shares it on a superficial level. And I also know people who've been married to people like that, but they've never come over to this side. They've just continued either believing on the surface or believing differently, because we can't tell who is committed to Christ. So it becomes a choice you make. If that person wants to marry you, and you feel, well, I can marry the person, even though the person doesn't seem as committed as I am to Christ. So that's what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
let's go into a little bit of your own journey. As a young
Okay.
girl, sort of growing up, what were your dreams about marriage or love?
That is an interesting question because as a young girl growing up, I can't remember whether I had dreams of getting married or not. I can't remember, to be honest. You know, even if I cast my mind back, I can't remember ever dreaming that, oh, I want to wear the white dress or this and that. It didn't feature in my in my dreams as a little child. I don't know why, but it didn't. It didn't. So it wasn't something that I was looking forward to, if you know what I mean. Maybe as a little girl or as I became a teenager, no. I mean, unlike now, my son, who is going to be a teenager soon, he talks about, oh, mom, I would love to be married. I would love to have children. I don't think I ever had that conversation when I was growing up. So for me, I don't think I had the dream. Even though as I became older and I became a young adult, I think society dictated that you have to get married. So I just found myself in that place, you know, I graduated at 21, and then I came back to live in England at the age of 21. And at that time, yeah, so, you know, you get men's attention. And I think I've had a high school boyfriend that we were dating while I was in uni and stuff like that. So yes, I was in a relationship that was leading up to marriage, but in terms of childhood dreams, I don't think I had any of those. It was just a function of society where I grew up, that at a certain age you're expected to bring a man home.
So usually you find young ladies, they already have a plan. You know, I always say sometimes
Yeah.
you meet a man and they've planned the wedding, they've even named the children, they've decided how many children they're going to have. You know, so it's interesting to have a young girl who never sort of thought about it in sort of like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
I think most of the time we're thinking from a fairy tale perspective of marrying this handsome prince and life is ever, you know, happy ever after kind of dream that we have. So you're saying you didn't have that dream. It was sort of a
No, not that I know, not that I can vividly remember or ever having the conversation, you know, with anyone or any. Yeah, I can't remember ever doing that. Yeah.
Okay. So now you get to a stage in life and you've graduated, you're working, and then you sort of get giving this thing, which is, when do you get married? What happens now? You know, when's the wedding? How did that feel for you?
I think for me, because I graduated at the age of 21, so I was quite young. So I didn't get the pressure immediately. So my parents expected that I would further my education at that time. And I also wanted to further my education, even though I had somebody that I was dating, and it at the time it looked like we were going to be together for the rest of our life together, and that didn't happen. So for me, yeah, so I was just, yeah, we were dating with the intention that one day we would get married. But my parents' intention for me was to go back to school and do like a postgraduate degree or another degree. So, and that was what I did in the end. So I went on to do a postgraduate degree. And then by that time, obviously, I was advancing in age. So then by the time you become like 25, you know, if you didn't get the pressure before, by the time you're 25, it's not so bad. But by the time you become 26, 27, it's like, even if you're not counting, somebody else is counting on your behalf.
So now it's hint, hint time, you know, and the bells are getting...
Yes, it is. Yeah,
bells are getting
it is.
louder. So that comes from family, and then, which of course is from the society, you know. People are maybe attending daughters' weddings, they're attending their friends' children's weddings, one or two may have even
Yeah.
had babies. So of course now the parents are looking to you and saying, okay, when is it going to be your turn? This is what we expect now. Okay.
Yes.
What about church? Did church make it better? Make you also think that way?
Well, the church where I started when I gave my life to Christ. I was in university, and I continued to go to the church where I gave my life to Christ until I graduated and then came to the United Kingdom. But there was no pressure. Interestingly enough, there was no pressure, at least not for people my age then, because like I said, I was 21, at the time. So there was no pressure from the church. But and when I also moved to the UK and I started going to church, like you rightly said, a lot of people around me were getting married. Loads of people, loads of people around. That was in the early 90s. So we had weddings after weddings and after weddings, and people would ask you, so when is your own wedding going to take place? I don't think they come from a place of pressure or a place of malice. I think it's a place of, you are in this age bracket, so you should be looking to get married now.
Okay, you're in the zone. So
kind of, yeah.
But I think is there a point where it changes from sort of a reminder or caution to alarm bells? So
I think it does. I think as you advance in age in our culture, in the African culture, people make it their duty to start asking you questions. So even if you are not under pressure, you get people coming up to you to say, oh, is there anybody? Are we expecting wedding bells soon? So even though they're subtle, but there's still alarm bells, Or for instance, I'll give you an example, because in my own case, two of my younger sisters got married before me. I'm the first of 4 girls, and 2 of them got married before me. And I remember going to Nigeria for the wedding for the youngest, who was getting married at the time. And I was prepared because I'm the first and she was the 4th. And she was getting married before me. So I was prepared mentally for the questions. I was prepared physically for the questions, because I knew that people will ask questions. So in my own case, I just said to myself, I'm going to play along. So when I got home to the wedding and people say, oh, how is the family? I'm like, they're very well, thank you. So I there was no need to entertain any questions for me, because I don't owe you any explanation. At that time, I was in my late 20s. So people were asking questions. So how are you? In fact, I think I was 30, not even 28. Yeah, I think I was 30. So people automatically assume that you should have a family. At least if you don't have a family, you have a husband at that age. And I know that because that is where I came. That is the culture. I understand the culture. So I played along. So every time I have to show up in Nigeria for a family function, I show up like I have my family back home in London, and I don't entertain any questions.
So you had to fake it till you made it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I'm not proud to say that is what I did, but that is what I did. I had to do that for the sake of my well-being, because I was just not ready to answer questions. And not only that, you see, people don't only just ask you questions, they would also go as far as asking your mother, and what is your daughter still doing? People don't mind their business when it comes to things like this. So if you're an older single, even if you're single, you have to have a strategy on how to manage negative comments, how to not allow their comments to get to you, knowing that, what they say or don't say doesn't affect you. So you have to have your own plan. My own plan was to show up with that air that my family is back in London. I didn't bring them on this occasion. That's it.
And of course, they made that assumption. So it was easy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
easy.
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, they make it easy because they assume that, oh, if you're the first child and your last sister
baby
is getting
sister.
married, surely you should have been married for 5 years.
Yeah,
But
so
there you go. Yeah,
it's a done deal for you, you know.
exactly.
Okay. So that's tough. It's tough to also manage that, you know, where the baby sister is the one getting married and the first one has crossed, because I think culturally that 30 is a big landmark, you know, for women. But let's just go back a little bit to people perhaps who are more sensitive and didn't plan, and not feeling 100%. Because if my baby sister is getting married and I'm 30 and I don't have anybody sort of in my visual at the moment, how do you think somebody could feel? Or, you know?
I think, you're bound to feel something. There is no, I think I would say to somebody like that who was in my shoes, I think for me, I think it's okay for you to feel what you feel. You will feel, I don't know, I'm trying to name the feelings. You might feel unhappy. You might feel, oh, when is it going to be my turn? You might feel a bit hurt that it's not your turn. You might, there's so many things depending on where that person also is in life. I think for me, I didn't feel pity for myself because I was in a good place in my life. So I had been through a couple of relationships that weren't going anywhere. And I had come to a place where I had started to love myself and, heal from relationship that didn't work in the past. So I was happy. I was at a point in my life where I was happy to be on my own, doing what I want to do, just loving life and just having a good time. So, but for people who are sensitive, I would say it's okay for you to feel everything that you're feeling, disappointed, feeling inadequate sometimes, feeling maybe you're not good enough, maybe you're not beautiful enough as your other sister, whatever it is. I think you need to accept that you're feeling that way, acknowledge that you're feeling that way. And it's okay to feel that way. There's nothing wrong in feeling, we can't, bury our feelings under the carpet. We have to accept that we feel what we're feeling, because then is the only way you are now able to move away from that feeling. Once you feel it, you acknowledge it, you accept it, and then you can start to think, okay, why am I feeling this way? What can I change, to stop me from feeling this way? But it's okay to feel inadequate, not enough. It almost feel like a failure sometimes because you think I should have been, I should be the one wearing that dress, So it's a delicate one, and because we have different personalities, there will be different ways in which people will react. There'll be different ways in which people would feel when it comes to things like that. I think because for me, I'm easy-go-lucky, and I had come to a place in God, and I at that time that, you know what, God, even if I don't get married, just give me lots of money. Let me have fun. All right, that's it.
Yes, we know that you're fun-loving, but do you think, because sometimes people are going to church,
Yeah.
and this friend is getting married, even this friend who is not as committed as me, doesn't even turn up for church on Sunday, and she's the one married,
Yeah.
So those kind of emotions, how are they? Is it what Christians feel? I think that's what I want to ask. Is this what a normal person who is a churchgoer can feel? Do I feel? Sometimes I feel sometimes the church doesn't permit us to feel. That's my opinion, but is it normal? Is it okay?
I would say it is absolutely fine. I think at the end of the day, the church does not dictate how we feel. Yes, we're Christians, and it's just like saying somebody that loses a family member now, and we say, oh, because the Bible says that they've gone to heaven, so we shouldn't cry. No, you have to allow people to feel what they feel. I don't think the church is responsible for dictating people's feelings. God has created us with these feelings, and it's important that we feel the feelings. And there's a reason why we can feel, but I think what I think for us Christians is being able to go back when we're feeling low. If we're feeling low as a result of, the fact that two of my younger sisters got married before me, then it's a function of, if you're feeling low, you now want to almost manage yourself so that you don't stay in that low place for a long time. So that you don't allow the devil to now use that opportunity as a doorway to bring other things into your life, like whatever, depression, everything else that comes with that feeling of inadequacy and sadness and just not knowing what life has to offer. So I think the only thing that I can say to that is, whether you're a Christian or not, you're still a human being, and you have a right to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. And you also have a right to give yourself permission, because I think what you're trying to say is that it's almost like the church doesn't give people permission to feel bad or to feel jealous. Yeah, because that's some of those are some of the feelings, that I was I was trying to find the words for earlier. So the feeling of jealousy, the feeling of, or maybe envy, that's okay, as long as those feelings don't now go on to produce fruits. Then I think you're permitted to feel the way you want to feel. Otherwise, we will not be human if we're not allowed to feel.
And I think sometimes we can get stuck, which is what you're saying, with those feelings. And I feel sometimes we go to church, we pray a little bit, get a little bit excited with the praise and worship, but we carry those feelings back again. So, they're alleviated for a little while. But so sometimes we need to actually work out these feelings. And that's when people come to people like you, or come to people like me. You go for counseling or you go for coaching, because you are now stuck in a point in your life, and you need to do something actually to help you turn. I think I say this all the time. I'm not saying that prayer is not effective. Anybody who knows me knows that one thing I believe in quite strongly is the power of prayer. But sometimes I think actually we call it self-sabotaging. There are some things we do that even when the prayers have been answered, we are unable to reach out and touch those things, because sometimes we're stuck in our emotions. So I think sometimes, do you feel when people want to seek help, is it okay for a Christian to seek help, either for a coach or a counselor? Is that a good thing?
Yeah, most definitely. I would say definitely, if you're feeling stuck. Because sometimes, when you talk, I think maybe it's the way we word it, saying people seek help. Yes, it is help, but sometimes you just need somebody who is not in your situation to look at the situation for you and be objective. So I would say more than seeking help is seeking support for what it is that you're going through. So yes, you're praying about it, and yes, prayers work. Like you rightly said, you and I know the power of prayer, but I think there comes a time where you think, you know what, I need somebody to help me unpick what I'm thinking in my head, or just help me to see this thing in a different light, or I'm feeling stuck right now. I want to move forward. I mean, for coaching, what we do is we don't really dig into the past so much, but we say, we look at where you are right now and we ask you, where do you want to be? And then we begin to help you to look at the things that are stopping you. Like you rightly said, some self-sabotaging mindset. And then we start to unpick that so that the person can see that they're the ones that they have been limiting themselves because of certain things that they have been doing. And then they now look for options on how to stop those things so that they can move forward to the next point in their life. So it's important that people seek for support if they need it. And nobody should make anybody feel bad because they're Christian and they're seeking for support. Interestingly enough, most of the people that I work with are Christians, even though I didn't set out my coaching practice to be like that. But a few people that I work with, they're Christians. They're non-Christians as well, but majority are Christian.
Okay. Yes, like I think majority of my practice actually is non-Christians. But
okay.
Yeah, I do have Christians who come along, and I think their first expectation is, oh, I'm going to work based on the word. But actually, I let them work a lot with their feelings for them to make connections. Then we can begin to introduce the word, because sometimes we're sort of, I always say to my clients, is like you have a wound and you really need to dig and clean out the wound, and it might not be nice and it might be painful, and then you can get some healing. So I think both of us are sitting on the same side. I go into the past and get them to the present, and then you work from the present on. I do actually use some coaching in my counseling as well. I'm going to read a little bit from your book. As I said, I was frantically searching in my house for a copy. I couldn't find it.
You should have asked me to send you the e-copy.
No. And then I sent you a message, and then I realized.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I could download it on Kindle, but it was in the middle of the night, quite early hours in the morning. So I now deleted the messages, and I'm going to read just from the beginning, and then we can talk a little bit.
For me,
we can talk a little bit about that part. It says, what stories have you been telling yourself that are creating or blocking your love destiny? I told myself the same stories for many years. I thought nobody would love me because I was so skinny. My clothes hung on me. I just want to talk about, what is love destiny? Do you believe in that?
Well, I believe that, the Bible says that God is love. And I believe that when the Bible says that he created us, he created us for his pleasure. And one of the things that, that is important, that is the heart of God, is relationships, because very, very early on at the beginning of the Bible, he created man, and as soon as he created man, he looked around and thought, you know what, this man needs somebody, and created somebody for him, to support him, to be a suitable helper to him. So I believe very strongly that for every man there is a woman. Otherwise, the mathematics or whatever equation that God had in mind can be right. So if he created one man, and then he took a rib out of the man to create a woman, then surely. So I am not quick to buy into the fact that, oh, there are more women than men. People say that a lot, but I'm very, very careful what I say with regards to that, because I believe that you would have what you say. So if you say there are not enough men, then you're not gonna find them. If you have a scarcity mindset where men are concerned, you're not gonna find them. If you say they're not good men, you're not gonna find them. You will keep finding the rubbish ones. So I believe that for every man there is a woman. So if you want to call that love destiny, then yes, I believe in that. So I believe that for anyone that desires to be married or to be in that relationship of one man and one woman as ordained in the Bible, they can experience that.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that God is love. He made man and woman, and he has made, just like he makes provision for food, for clothing, he's made provision for somebody to love you. It's how you expect this. So if you expect God to feed you, you should expect that he has created, or there is somebody that will meet that need. You know that when there was a day also we were sitting in a group and we were having this discussion about them being more men, more women, more women, no, more women than men. Do you know, we actually Googled it, and it's not true. There are more men than there are women worldwide.
Of course.
That was to show you how much we debated it. So even statistically, there's enough men to go around.
Exactly.
We always feel that
there
isn't. Yeah, we always feel that there isn't. And I want to talk about this part where he says, you'd been telling yourself the same story for many years, and I thought no one would love me because I was so skinny. Do you want to talk a bit about that? Because there'll be loads of people who are watching who have, we call it in counseling, I'm sure also in coaching, body image issues. So I'm too thin, I'm too fat, my belly's big, whatever it is. Talk about how that fed into your well-being mentally.
Okay. I think growing up as a child, I've always been a small woman. So I grew up amongst people who are pleasantly plump. So I think in my family, I'm the smallest and the tiniest. And I have always been like that. So, but I think also, if I think back, I think one of the things that happened for me was, I remember my mom keeps on saying that you always look like we're not feeding you. You know, you make it look like we're not feeding you. You make it, and she will continue to say that. And I think that obviously stuck with me, that, you know what, I need to be a certain weight. And I was not that weight. And as I grew older, I felt I was going to be that weight, but it never happened. I'm still waiting for it to happen. You know, but what I didn't realize is it was not just about the fact that I didn't like the fact that I was skinny. One of the things also that used to happen is all my clothes would hang on me. So I really hated looking in the mirror, and especially when I'm dressed, because the skirt will have to be pinned up, the top will have to be pinned up so that it can look good on me. And I hated that. I hated it with a passion. So as a result, I had this hatred for my body. I had this hatred for the way I was just so tiny. And no matter where I tried to shop, they just didn't have my size. It got to a point where I was buying children's clothes just so that it can be fitted on me. But you know, there was a bigger issue there than the clothes not fitting. There was a bigger issue there than the size that I was. The issue there was the fact that I had a root of rejection that I never knew was there until I became a young adult and I started being in relationships. So, and that root of rejection came from the fact that I grew up with a non-resident father. So my dad, you know, he was always traveling, so he was hardly ever home. And he would come once in a while and we'll see him and then he would go. So I don't know what it is like to have a father-daughter relationship with my dad. But I did not realize when I was growing up that this was going to translate into problems for me. So it is now that I do what I do, coaching people and having healed from the past, that I know that what I was suffering from was a root of rejection. So a lot of people who don't like what they see in their body image, we need to drill down and ask them questions of why. Why is it that you don't like the fact that you're skinny? Why is it that, you know, you need to keep asking them that question until they get to the bone of it. So I realized that I was telling myself, oh, you know, no man will want me. Men like women who have, you know, all the shapes, you know, the boobs and the big backside, everything. I thought that was what they wanted until I met my husband. And that totally changed everything for me, because he just liked women like me. He wanted a woman who was slim, who was tiny, and that is what he wanted. So for me, there was more to the body image than just the surface. Yeah, at least in my own case, that was the situation. There was an underlying issue that I did not know was there until later on in life.
So a lot of So you're coming back into my world that a lot of how we become can be a result of what happened on our journey. So
Yeah.
sometimes it may even happen when the lady's older. She meets somebody who
Yeah.
makes a remark about her body. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard stories where women who have stretch marks, men make a flippant remark about it, and the woman now feels nobody will have her because maybe she's had a baby
Yeah.
before, maybe she lost some weight and she has some kind of stretch mark. So what you're saying is actually, if you're looking at yourself and thinking nobody's going to love me, even on a physical level, because I use that because we hear a lot women saying, I'm so fat, my belly's so big. In some instances, we may need to lose weight, so let's be cautious about that. But sometimes when it is playing on your mind so much, and you're feeling this is the reason nobody will have me because of the way that I look, or like you said, quite honestly, that I look in the mirror, I don't like looking in the mirror because it speaks to me. So you really need to go into yourself to understand a little bit more about. And I know your mom raised 4 wonderful ladies, but also the fact that dad wasn't there, left something quite significant with you. And we can't speak for your sisters. So what you're saying is actually it's important to have these 2 people raising a child.
Absolutely.
Because the absence of one speaks volume to, we would say, the subconscious of the child. So do you want to talk about Flourish? Why I love the name. I love, women's advocates, I'm sure you know, and what you do, why you're so passionate about it.
Okay. Well, like we've mentioned, my coaching business or coaching practice was born out of my own experience. So a few years ago, I started asking God, what is it that there's a reason why you created me. Okay. Yes, I have a day job that I love to go to, I enjoy going to. But I felt a few years ago that there was more to me than just going to job, getting paid and paying my bills. There was more. And I felt the need to just find out what the more was. So I really started praying, and I was lucky at the time. I wasn't working. I was home with my son, who was 3.5 years old at the time. And I started really, praying. And I felt God say to me, you have learned to love yourself. You have overcome in these areas of your life. You can teach other women. So my coaching practice was born out of a desire to help other women to love themselves. Because going back to what we just talked about not liking what I saw in the mirror, my weight and my size never changed. But what changed was my perception of myself. So I stopped seeing myself as that skinny woman. I stopped seeing myself as my clothes didn't fit. And I started seeing myself as, you know what? This is what God has created me to be. Yes, I am small, I am tiny, but it's a blessing to look like this. And then so my weight, I did not gain weight, but the way I saw myself changed, and I started loving myself. So what I did was I started doing things that gave me joy. I started doing things that made me feel good about myself. And then as a result of that, out of the blues, certain chain of stores started opening up in the United Kingdom at the time that catered for very small women. So all of a sudden, I could go into the store and I could buy a size 2 or a size 0 dress that would just fit perfectly. But like I said, all this changed for me because I changed my perception of who I was, and I accepted myself. And I was happy that if I didn't put on weight, I'm happy with that. So, but what I'm saying is all of these experiences gave birth to what I to my coaching practice, and I called it loving yourself more when I started in 2013. So I wanted to help women to love themselves more. Because if you ask anyone, they'll tell you, if you ask anybody, do you love yourself? They'll say, oh, of course I love myself. So everybody has an element of love for themselves. But how deep or how wide is a different story. So my mission at the time was to help women to love themselves. And then what happened was in a couple of years later down the line in 2016, I decided I was searching for more. So I started out helping women to love themselves and be confident in who they are, without apology, being able to just be their true self and don't care about what anybody thinks or say about you, just be you and enjoy being you. So 3 years down the line, I hired a business coach who started working with me and started drilling and asking me questions of why. So she started asking me, Andrea, why are you doing what you're doing? Why? What is the story? So, and that was how I shared with her the story of all my past relationships, how I went from one relationship to the other, looking for love in all the wrong places, not knowing that, the problem was with me, not with the guys. The problem was with me. It was because I didn't feel I was enough. So I was settling for less than what I desired and I deserved. So, but with the minute I realized that, you know what, I am enough in myself. God has created me. When God created me, he looked at me and he said, this is good, this is perfect. So I don't have to settle for less. I don't need anybody to complete me. I am complete in Christ. The minute I changed that, everything changed for me. And that was when, I was going about my business. I went on a weekend away and I met my husband at that weekend away. And you know the story. I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking for a relationship, but that happened. So this is how Flourish in Love was birthed. So Flourish in Love is about helping single professional women or business women, helping them to stop chasing in love so that they can be cherished in love, so that they can stop doing the chasing. Because we were not, I keep saying this, Eve did not go to look for Adam. Eve was presented to Adam. So we don't have a business, chasing after men. We don't have a business. If you're a Christian, you don't. I don't know about unbelievers. They do things differently. But if you're a Christian, know that God has someone for you and he will present you to that person when the time comes. So that is what I do. So I help women to stop chasing in love, and I help them to just be very clear about what they want. Because when I was single, I was very clear about what I wanted, and be confident in themselves, and also have the courage to wait for God to bring the right person to them. So that is what Flourish in Love is all about.
And it has grown. I think, grown. Your business has grown.
He has, yes.
Now you're not only working with the single women, but you work with couples, groups. So God has blessed your seed,
yes.
And your obedience. I think it's important, these things we're talking about, so that people who are single, whether they're older, whether they're young girls, to know that God has them in mind. God has prepared somebody for them. And sometimes we're not in the position to be found. That's what you're saying, because we have some issues going on for us internally.
Yeah.
And instead of saying it's the man's fault, all men are bad or there are not enough men. So some look inwards and look at what you see. I always say we have so many rooms in our lives. Visit those rooms again and throw out what's not needful. We've sort of come to time. I know you have a wonderful marriage ministry, so you will come back another day. So I'm sort of
yes, I will come back.
I'll hold you to that. But if there is something you're going to leave behind, whether they're young, they're married, they're old, because we'll have parents watching it, trying to, who've been obviously saying to their children, you need to get married, it's time. You'll have people who are maybe in bad relationships who are thinking, that resonates with me. What would you leave with us today?
Well, I would say just live in the moment. Whether you're single, whether you are in a relationship currently, whether, whichever side of the spectrum you're on, just live in the moment and do what you enjoy. Find the things that gives you joy, find the things that give you pleasure, and just do it. Because you know what? For single people, if you stop your life and stop doing what you enjoy because you want to wait for the man, if the man never comes, what happens? You would have missed out on a lot of things that God wants you to enjoy and experience. And for married people, for some people, the relationship is rocky. Things are not going as well. Find something that you enjoy. Find something that connects you with your joy, and learn to live in the present moment. That is what I would say.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on my website. It's www.andreaonadeko.com. If you just Google that would come up for you. You can find me there. You can also find me on Facebook as Flourish in Love with Andrea Onadeko, or on YouTube as Flourish in Love with Andrea Onadeko. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Another very interesting evening we've had, looking at single actually from a different perspective. I think a lot of times we're always looking at it, not looking inwards, maybe looking around and looking at the circumstances and looking for who is coming to find the young lady and positioning herself. So we've had a bit of a talk today about looking inside and seeing what's going on for you. What language are you speaking to yourself? What belief do you have that God has somebody who loves you? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. My name is Lydia and Khalil. Thank you for watching.
LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.